So what I'm talking about today is really around creating with purpose. Sharesies is a purpose-driven business, and I thought it'd be really cool to share about how we started off and how we've really built purpose and impact into our business, the impact we've had. But I kind of want to go through that fast because I just really want to answer any questions that you may have. So I really want to make sure there's enough space for that. And if I know there's not much time, so if we don't have space for that, please do connect with me afterwards. Would love to chat through anything. So yeah, what I thought I'd cover is a little bit into my purpose. I think, that's a hard topic maybe, but just a little bit about maybe who I am and what drove me into Sharesies, and then more into Sharesies' purpose and how that evolved, and then the impact we've had over the last 2.5 years since we've been going. So my purpose. I think where it started for me is that I've always really cared about making a positive impact. And I think before Sharesies, I was involved in social enterprises, and that was when I was working and when I was even at school, something I really cared about. I was like, I love business and I really believe it can do good, and that businesses are a force for good. And so I loved that. And then I'm also really passionate about creating equal opportunities for everyone. I think there's so much inequality in New Zealand and around the world, and it's like, how can we bridge that and make sure that there's more equal opportunities for all? So I used to I remember the first ever leadership chat I did yonks ago, I called myself a shameless opportunist, and I am a little bit, but I also love, part of that is I love creating opportunities for others, and that's probably a bit about why I'm so connected early on in terms of what Sharesies was wanting to do. So with Sharesies, there's actually 7 of us that got together in October 2016. We're all really driven to start a business. There were actually 2 groups with 2 kind of business ideas. But Sonia over here, she was the one that had the initial idea behind Sharesies. She's like, I wish I could invest $50 in a fun way. I wish that I had opportunities to do, more with my money. At that time, there was heaps in the paper about millennials and smashed avocado, and it really felt like you didn't have an ability to grow wealth, or that you're really locked out of housing, and that's what investing meant in New Zealand. And yeah, you've got this KiwiSaver thing, but how can I actually grow wealth, but with amounts that I can afford? And so we spent 6 months doing customer research before we even started prototyping what Sharesies would look like. And in that, and that was heaps of ethnographic interviews, so one-on-one, like really deeply understanding their day-to-day life, where money slotted in, what they thought about investing, if they thought they were an investor already, and then also doing some surveys. And what we found really is that there were 3 things that were stopping people from investing. And that's that they felt priced out, jargoned out, and ultimately left out. The whole industry focused on wealth management. So once you've got money, they're there for you. But in terms of wealth development, there's just this big chasm there. So we set out to solve that as a team. So Leighton, Sonia and I went full-time in February on Sharesies in 2017. Haven't looked back, and then the other 3 came in not long after, and we've grown from them to a team of over 30 of us now. And we're all really driven to create equal opportunities for people to grow their wealth. And that's really what has been the unifying feature with the founding team. I think something that we did really, that has set us up really, really well early on as a founding team was really defining our values, and I'll go through that soon. But I think what we really understood is we were creating more than just a product or a service. We were creating a company, and I think sometimes you can get really focused on the product service side, but realize, those who are in companies or obviously run companies too, that there's so much more to that in terms of, how are we going to be an amazing place for people? What impact is this company going to have on the environment? What systems and processes we're going to have? There's so much more than like the interaction that maybe a customer will have behind a whole company. And we really, we all had a lot of the skills we needed to be able to create a company that had really strong purpose. So our purpose is to create the most financially empowered generation. And the first way we're doing that is to give someone with $5 the same investment opportunities as someone with $500,000. I remember when we started, we were like, oh, $5 and 50,000. And then you're just like realize, actually, there's so many opportunities that someone with 50,000 has that someone with 500,000 doesn't, or, or the other way. So it's like we started to really see that there was so much more in terms of people feeling really left out of opportunities when it came to investing. So we created this product. It's been out for 2.5 years now. And we started, I think, with 8 investment options, and now we've got 165 on our platform. Recently, we added the New Zealand Stock Exchange, so we've got all of the companies that are listed in New Zealand on our platform, along with exchange-traded funds on our platform. And so they're like, you can invest in the US top 500 or the New Zealand top 50. And it's really cool to see, to be able to unlock this, and the minimum investment on our platform for any of those investments is $0.01. And that was the biggest innovation I think we brought to New Zealand. It wasn't there before us, which is cool. So what I was talking about before was that the founders got together. We sat down at a cafe early on, where I said, we went full time in February, incorporated in that February, and I think we sat down in the cafe in the same February. And I asked the founders a bunch of questions. I asked, and I wrote down their answers. I was like, if we could create the most amazing company in the world, what would it be like to work there? What are habits you've seen in workplaces, or things you've seen in workplaces before that you never ever want to see in your company or in Sharesies? And I started to jot down all of the points that the founders made. And from that, 4 themes just really emerged, and they became our values. So one of them is chase remarkable. And these bullet points are from that initial conversation we had with the founders, and it's really cool to see them live on today. So, we wanted to be going above and beyond for our investors. We wanted to be able to do remarkable work and bring, everything that we have, not just one skill set, bring it all. Be really bold and take risks and recruit wonderful people who just strive for remarkable results. And I think it was really interesting having this conversation early on, and how this has really helped set us up in terms of how we work and how we really drive to our purpose and impact. The other one was in it together. In tech, quite often there's cultures of individualism, so it's hero-based and people shine. But what we really wanted to create is a collective culture, where really realizing that if you have a win on a day, it's because of everything that everyone else has done to create that, to create that opportunity. And just really realizing that we are in it together, really caring about each other and our well-being, knowing that it's all about people at the end of the day, and being really open and collaborative and egoless, really dropping our ego and making sure that we're always doing what's best for our investors. And then always care. We really wanted to create a place where, and a company that deeply, deeply cared about each other, about our communities, about the investors, and what, the outcomes that they're getting from our platform. And then also about the environment too, and making sure that we're just creating a great place for people to grow and live their best lives. So I think that was really cool that we, a lot of times we hear, 7 founders, how's that going to work in the early days? And I really think that uniting around these values and it being so clear so quickly and so easily has really helped us all grow and build these strong relationships and be able to build a really strong company along the way too. So the impact that we've started to create, as I mentioned, Sharesies has, as we talked about, we want to give someone with $5 the same opportunity as someone with 500,000. I think introducing 1 cent investing was a really big part of the impact we wanted to create in New Zealand, to really go, you have access now, and remove that, priced out barrier that I was talking about. People really felt that they have, and we're still got a lot of perceptions in New Zealand that people think investing is only for the rich. We introduced kids accounts, which is just so important and something we wanted to do from day one, because kids are the most wealthiest in the world because they've got time on their side, and time is the most valuable aspect of money. And so making sure that we can help families have conversations around investing, and you don't even have to be the parent. It's like a well-meaning adult and can set up a kids account. And it's really great to see these conversations happening at dinner tables and people comparing portfolios and starting to connect what's happening in New Zealand and the economy to what's happening with their money, and pulling this all together in a real world way has just been so exciting. And I think we've got over 3,000 kids signed up now, which is fantastic. we started to hit the streets, because the key barrier that is still out there is that people think, oh, yeah, investing is for the rich, or you need to know heaps to get started. So we've really tried to create a brand and a movement around you don't need that, and actually investing, it can be really fun and it's not scary, and we've removed as much jargon as possible and help really educate through our platform too. So we've got over 62,000 investors now, since I sent this slides in, who've invested over 92 million. Well, they've got over 92 million invested in Sharesies, which has just been incredible to see that traction and people to start, breaking down those barriers around investing. We've got 50-50 gender engagement, which is probably one of the stats I'm most proud of. In the investing industry, the majority of investors are male over 60 and live in Auckland. And I think it's really great that we've got this spread around New Zealand. 80% of our investors are under 40, but we've got investors from 0 to 90 years old. And I just love that we're creating this inclusive and educational platform. And with people that are building their portfolio one payday at a time. The average deposit is 167. The average portfolio is 1,600. So people are, depositing and building their portfolio over time, which is really exciting to see them being able to build their wealth. And as I said, education is a really important aspect of breaking down that second barrier around feeling jargoned out. So we try and make it really easy around people sharing people's first-time investors story, really demystifying, what is inflation, and fun, and using analogies, and just making it really simple, and using, the language we use every day. One thing that I was really passionate about when creating Sharesies was that we would create a place that was a safe and inclusive and fun place to work. And I'm really stoked that recently we were just awarded the Work-Life Balance Award at the Diversity Awards, which is pretty unheard of, I think, for growth companies. That is really not what is synonymous with what a growth company is. And I love that we're transforming, or part of the movement that's transforming what a high-performance company or culture looks like. And that is where well-being is completely included. It's not well-being or high performance. And we were just recognised because we're a certified B Corp, as one of the top companies in the world for our employees, which is really exciting. And this random little thing here is an example of something we do internally, where every Monday, everyone in the team gets up and says what's one thing they want to do outside of work that week. And it's really cool to just hear those stories of what is really important to somebody in that week, and really get to know them as a team, but also to really share that is important, that whatever we're doing this week, and however important it feels at Sharesies, you are important, and what matters to you outside of Sharesies is really, really important, and that's really valued. And I love, that's one of my favourite parts of the week, actually, is just hearing what people care about. And then what we try and do, we've had one in Christchurch and we'll have more, as we run these things called Share Club, which are free events across New Zealand where we bring in experts or people from the industry to come and just share interesting insights and help demystify investing. So we had the last panel we had 2 CEOs of listed companies in New Zealand. I was on it. And we were talking about why invest in New Zealand companies. What does that mean? Why is that important? Should we be investing here? Should we be investing overseas? And just bring those conversations to the living room. This is live streamed on Facebook, but it's really important that we're just helping more and more people get access. So I think that, and then internally making sure that we're doing what we can for the environment, being eco-friendly. A lot of us bike to work. And I think creating a place where people really can feel that purpose in everything that they're doing and the why of what they're doing has enabled us to really grow really quickly. So I wanted to kind of give you those examples as how we bring our purpose to life. And I also want to touch on becoming a certified B Corp, because I just saw Kathmandu recently became one, which is fantastic, as one of, I think, New Zealand's first listed company. Does anyone know what a B Corp is? Yay! Cool. You got a strong community here, actually, of B Corps in Canterbury. But essentially, for those that don't know, B Corp is a certification process you go through where you really are, you're measured on if you're making a positive impact on your customers, your community, your environment. You've got great governance processes in place. And did I mention community? customers. One other thing I think I missed there. Oh, your people. And so it's really important and so we wanted to run ourselves through that certification because I hear quite often people call themselves a social enterprise, but they might have like an operating model that's great for us from a social enterprise perspective, but then everything else in terms of those other 4 areas, just, there's a lot of, they're not actually building a diverse and inclusive workforce or whatever it might be. And so I really wanted to make sure, are we actually meeting a bar, and how can we be assured that we are doing what we can to be a business that is a force for good. So for those of you that are keen to check it out, it was like such an important thing I think I did for me to even reflect and learn more about Sharesies. And there's this B impact assessment tool that's free to do online. There's like 260 so questions, so like carve 2.5 hours out of your day. And at the end of it, you get a metric, and if you're 80 and over, then you can apply to be a B Corp. But if your score is under 80, then it gives you this improvement report with areas that, hey, here's some areas and tips and tricks of where you can improve to get that score up and then become part of the B Corp community. But I just think it's so valuable to see, where am I? Where is the business? Where are we doing really well, and where are areas we can improve? And I think it's been fantastic for us because now it's just really clear the areas you can improve. You look at environment and you're like, there's so much we can do, but I actually don't know what to do. And then here it's like, here's some actual, I can do a waste audit, or, there's just really clear kind of action plans you can create off the back of it. And it is a free tool, and I really do believe that it was a really fantastic thing for me to do for Sharesies and for myself to look at and continue to. So I really rate that. But yeah, that's a bit about creating with purpose. I think I really wanted to share, like, setting those values up front. So often, like in businesses, the values are just like something that's token, integrity or something, but not actually lived. And so then making sure like that's a collaborative effort with those values, and then really bringing them into your business, I think has helped us just live our purpose day to day, have a team that just loves what they're doing, they understand the impact, and then incorporating wellbeing into that has been, I think, a key reason why we've got the traction that we have today. So I'd love to answer any questions. I think there's 5 minutes. If anyone's got any?
Yes, we do.
Oh, cool.
Thank you for using the Slido app because it helps me direct some questions. I have a few questions for you.
Cool.
Is your current focus the New Zealand market only?
Yeah, so right now we are, right now only people who live in New Zealand or have a New Zealand address can use Sharesies, but we're working on how we can expand that at this stage. Yeah.
Okay, kind of a follow-on from that. Is this only on the New Zealand dollar, or how does this interact with the exchange rate for US dollar or anything like that? Does that affect the business?
So the managed funds we offer on our platform are through New Zealand fund managers, and then all of the companies in the exchange traded funds on our platform are New Zealand companies, so that is in New Zealand dollars. Interesting thing though that we've learned is even though they're New Zealand listed, some of the dividends come through in pounds and all that sort of jazz. So we've had to do some fun foreign exchange internally to get those dividends out into New Zealand dollars. So yes, we're starting to head into that path. But as we add other markets to our platform, then there will be the foreign exchange component.
Awesome. Questions are coming in fast.
Oh, cool.
So on a different note, how do you hold each other to account against your business purpose?
Oh, cool. So what we rolled out internally were objectives and key results, OKRs. Has anyone heard of that? Yeah, I found it so good, especially early on when we adopted it. It was like this awkward thing. It felt too big for us at that time, the small team, and it felt really awkward. But now we've grown into it. It's like, it's so good we had that system set up of the way that we worked. So, when we started, when we were doing our objectives and key results for the quarter, like literally at the end of that quarter, we'd start doing them for the next quarter. Like it's you really could make a change or like run a whole project within 3 months. Now that our ambitions are now that it's expanding more and more, we're starting to set those OKRs for the year and then reviewing constantly, making sure we're not missing anything that's coming up. But I think that is how we stick to our purpose. So when we set our objectives and key results, we're going, okay, well, what impact is this having? When I went through those impacts, is really the impacts we care about is, are we creating equal investment opportunities? Are we creating confident and motivated investors? Are we building a sustainable business? Are we investing in our people? Are we protecting the environment? I think those are probably the key ones. I think I've missed one. But those are that's the impact that we really care about. And so when we do our objectives, key results, that is included along with and then sustainable business is where revenue and that comes in, equal opportunities as we're investors, and so you can really see how everything we're measuring is related to the impact. And then it's just lived and breathed, and in those team meetings on a Monday, we go through the OKRs. So like, what are we doing to make this impact this week? And I think that's helped us kind of keep that rhythm internally.
And where are you at with the numbers of employees at the moment?
32.
32. So the next question, reaching, what's the plan to keep the vision and purpose when Sharesies becomes a company of 500 employees? So what's your growth plan?
Yeah, I think that what's really interesting to see how well it's grown from a founding team to the 32, and I think it's about really putting impact into our core, having those B Corp certification, and really everything we're doing, making sure we are a business as a force for good. As you grow, that can grow, and I think there's companies like Kathmandu, Patagonia, Allbirds that are B Corps now that have been able to do that with thousands of employees. So it's something that's just kind of ingrained in who we are. Yeah.
Excellent. It's moving on me. So when you upvoted, it slips up to the top, and I have to find the question again. Management question: what happens when an employee doesn't share your values or breaks outside of your rules, something like that? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So there's two things there. One is like we hire on values first. So and that's not about cultural fit, that's about cultural contribution. So the first ever interview we do is just really getting to know the person, what's driving them, what are they going to add to our culture, and where they're going to go from there. And then the second interview is more scenario based or testing, and then the third is meet the team. So I think that has helped us. We haven't had anyone over the 2.5 years, we haven't had anyone leave yet or had any really massive issues in terms of cultural or value alignment. But then again, we're human, and so every day, sometimes, in high pressure, you can just have a behaviour that might not be aligned. And so we've just got a really good culture of being able to have those courageous conversations and be like, oh, when this happened, I didn't feel in it together. Can you explain a bit more? And just being able to have those conversations. But to be honest, we had the biggest release we ever did was launching with the New Zealand Stock Exchange, and it was really time pressured. We'd really set this deadline because of regulatory reasons. You only had once you became a participant, you had 2 weeks to go live, so it was like, whoa! And I was just so amazed, in that high pressure moment in the team, how you really felt in it together. People would come and bring you cups of teas to your desk, they still made, just created those moments of care. And I was just really amazed by, when you're under pressure, that's when you can see the worst behaviours, and we saw the best, and I just think that just shows it's really living.
Excellent. So this will be the last question, so we stay on time. But how do you keep investing affordable for people that are putting in those really small amounts? Is that your core market, or is that initially was your core the people you were trying to help?
I think when we started, we wanted to make sure that we were creating access to investing and for people that didn't really have access to. And as we've grown, we've learnt, well, actually, access is quite broadly defined. Like some people, access can be in terms of the way that they want to interact with their portfolio, having it all in one place. So really, we're set up as a new way of investing, and it's for everyone. But everything we do in terms of the way we design our product is about, if this is someone's first experience with investing, how are we making it as simple as possible? And if you're always designing to that, you're never excluding anyone. But if we're always designing to the other end of the market where everyone else is, you're always going to be excluding someone.
Awesome. Can we have a big round of applause, please, for
Thank
Brooke?
you.
That's excellent.